UFC Denver has gotten a new set of fights, another swap. I guess it's like a weekly occurrence that we have to go through this as fans. But Namajunas versus Cortez, and presumably Cannonier versus Holland as home of fight announced, and so did Kevin Holland himself. Yeah, improvement to the card. I mean, Barber versus Namajunas wasn't a good main event to begin with, but hey, they swapped the Gyat and they brought in a Latina, so fair enough to them. I'm going to give my rough predictions on these overall. I think my predictions are going to change throughout, leading up to the fight and stuff, but this is what first came to mind. Starting off with the main event, I guess. Rose Namajunas versus Tracy Cortez. I'm going to go with Tracy Cortez for a decision. Rose Namajunas took Amanda Ribas, this version of Amanda Ribas, to a decision. A very kind of close decision in my mind. I gave it to Rose 3-2, but, Ribas hung in there. She was kicking with Rose. She was grappling around with Rose. And, it was very competitive and not to my liking because Ribas keeps getting knocked out by these girls. She got knocked out by Barber, who I know was in this main event, but on this win streak she's had since her loss to Grasso, I think that's the only finish she had, and she took, people like De La Rosa to a decision. She took Andrea Lee to a split decision. She took Caitlin Chukagian to a decision as well, a close one, might I add. And, Rose took her to a very competitive split decision. 3-2 decision over 5 rounds. Cortez, while she doesn't finish people either, she's good. She has good volume boxing, which we've seen Rose struggle with in the Zhang Weili rematch, where Zhang also, not Zhang, I think Zhang mixed up some grappling in that fight too. I know Rose did and won round 5 with the top game, but Zhang did as well to some extent. And, also the Joanna 2 fight and even the Andrade 2 fight. Those were heavy boxing fights. And, Tracy Cortez, while she has, little to no knockout power, she does keep up a good pace. I know the altitude at Denver heavily favors Rose, but I think Cortez hangs around with her. She's at the gym consistently. We saw her on the dummy, she's flexing the glutes. Fair enough to her. She can do whatever she wants, but, I think she's training behind the scenes. So, I think she'll use, her boxing, and Rose will use her kicks and stay at range. It won't make for a good main event, but I'd rather have a new contender and have people build off Rose's name. So, and I think Tracy Cortez, whether I want her to or not, I think she'll win. I think she'll win and get a close 48-47 unanimous or split decision, because who knows these days. And now to the co-main event. Should have been at the KFC Yum Center. They should just go for that arena and book fights in Louisville whenever they have fighters like Cannonier and Holland there. I'm going to go with Holland, and I'm going to stick to my point that I, chose to pick Imavov and that horrible to pick Imavov. No, I picked Imavov because I know that Cannonier struggles at range. Cannonier's biggest weakness, it comes when he's at range or fights rangy fighters. Whitaker had to use range against him, and he won that fight. Dominic Reyes, that big straight, I guess that counter hook, extended to its fullest. Then you have Whitaker, I said, Strickland, Imavov, Adesanya, those types of guys. Like, his most impressive performance in recent memory has been to Marvin Vettori. And before that, got dropped by Derek Brunson. I know Holland lost to him over 5 rounds, but if there was a few extra seconds at the end of round, 1? Brunson would have tapped out Cannonier. Give it 30 seconds, he would have sunk in a choke or something. I know Cannonier looked composed in that choke, but he got dropped bad. badly by Brunson. And then before that, competitive decision to Gastelum, guy who's undisciplined. I don't care. Ever since that Adesanya fight, I just see, looking at it in hindsight, you just see him being undisciplined. So I don't, I don't rate the Cannonier stuff, his performances and whatnot. And Holland, whilst he doesn't follow a game plan and he throws away the win, he's good at keeping people at range. The Buckley knockout, what is it? Even Ponzinibbio, that hook was extended to its fullest. I know he got dropped by Oleksiejczuk, but I think that was more of a shock knockdown. Or a flash knockdown. And, Cannonier in the Imavov fight, he struggled with the cardio, in my opinion, in round 4. He looked gassed because they were moving around way too much. And, I guess clinching and stuff depleted his energy to some extent. I know clinches look pretty, comforting, but they do, they are pretty depleting, especially since Cannonier was moving Nasruddin around and stuff. So I don't know. He looked a bit gassed out at the end of that Nasruddin Imavov fight, and I think Holland can capitalize on that because he's not gonna be cutting too much weight because he keeps making, he keeps saying he's eating steaks and stuff at 185, whilst Cannonier, former, I know light heavyweight and heavyweight, but he has to make a big cut down to middleweight once again, especially after a knockout loss, a month? Well, from the date of the fight, it's going to be a month ago, from July 13th. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Holland, and it's going to be a rough, I guess, end for Cannonier. Even if it's three rounds, I'm going to stick with the third round TKO. If not, if it's a 5-round fight, then third or fourth round TKO is what you're going to be looking at. And overall, I think the card has improved. I mean, Malott versus Urbina is should never be in a co-main spot, especially in Denver. I mean, they put him on a feature bout, I think, twice on the Canada cards, the Oliveira one and the Strickland Duplessis one. They put him in the feature bout, whatever. Fun fact about Mike Malott, his other loss was to Hakeem Dawodu, I think, a featherweight. And also, but the Neil Magny, Neil Magny is one of the GOATs along with Smith, so, can't blame him there. But Cannonier, Holland, and I guess Namajunas versus Cortez is a nice addition to this card. They better find somebody fun for Dober, or at least a decent name or some kind of name value. I'm thinking Drakkar Klose or Grant Dawson. And then for Gregory Rodriguez, I don't know. There's too many middleweights. Maybe, I don't know. I know Rodolfo Vieira is in talks for Bo Nickel, but you could chuck in Rodolfo Vieira, Rappler, an Armin Petrosian rematch. I don't know. Something fun, something fine. And the main card will be alright. But, the prelims are pretty ass. I guess the feature bout's okay, but I don't rate the rest of it. So, yeah, those were my thoughts, and peace.